to the 1204 podcast. So happy to be here. A lot of smiling faces in the building. Mars.
What's up?
What's good? How you living?
What's up? I'm living. I'm chilling.
What's good? Who we got here today, Mars?
We got our friend here. Correct me if I say it wrong. How do I say it again?
My birth name is Martin, but you can say it however you want to. I mean, Ezra calls me Mahtin.
Mahtin.
I like that.
I like the sound of
I
that.
like that too. Yeah,
It's like a hardcore wrestler name.
It's really saucy, you know.
I like that.
I love that version of it. So yeah, Mahtin is a very good friend of mine, right? Mahtin handles all my cell phone needs. He is a manager over at Sprint, and he's the only reason why I don't hate the company. So yeah, we are rocking out. This is episode 8. We are happy to have you here. You know,
and I'm happy to be here.
I feel like this is a very weird time, to
absolutely.
be coming and going from your house. But you're a very busy guy. You're a very artistic individual. For people that don't know you, they're gonna get to know you really, really fast. So tell the people a little bit about yourself, Mahtin. Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it?
Well, yeah. So I mean, I was born in California, and then I moved to Oklahoma at a young age, and then I came here to New York after living in Oklahoma for well over 20 years. And now I've been here now, and within that time frame, I've just been kind of always into art. So I started with drawing and then went into music, and so I've always been that's always just been a part of my life, whether it be like if it's painting or if it's just drawing, or I mean I even just picked up clay, just anytime stuff I can get my hands on stuff, as far as like, and then like just singing. And it's been at times where I've sang for wanting to be in a band and being younger and wanting to do like get noticed and stuff. Everybody's into that. And now I feel like more so music is anything more just for me, kind of a thing that I enjoy, as far as anything goes in the creative aspect of that. But then as far as my work part of my life, I started out in sales at a young age, and somebody kind of put me in a place where I didn't want to be. I never thought I'd be in cell phones, and once I started in that, I just kind of like stuck my way into that. But more so, it's just kind of the sales aspect, which I really feel has kind of like helped me become the person I am, as far as like being able to talk to people and kind of understand how people work in a sense.
Absolutely. We've always had great conversations. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the storytelling, because I'm bad at this sometimes, but when we met and exchanged books like the first day. The first day we met.
What book was it?
It was the 5 for Life that he gave to me, and then I gave him Charlemagne the God's book.
Mm-hmm. I read that.
The one about anxiety. It was a really, really good book. I couldn't stop talking about it at the time, and I was like almost dying to give it away to somebody so somebody else could read it. And then we just started talking about like our love of reading and literature, and we're both writers as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like we connected off of that, and then we kind of just been friends like ever since.
Yeah, and it's supporting, just like shouts out here and there. Just cool to see people doing well or like doing what they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So briefly before we met, you were telling me that you have your own clothing line.
Yeah, I recently started.
I just want to point out he has a dope T-shirt on.
Thanks.
Super
Oh yeah,
dope.
tell him about the
Super
shirt.
dope.
You gotta explain the shirt.
Tell me about the shirt. I want to hear the shirt.
So basically, like with the clothing line, I try to drop like monthly kind of things. So like I had an April-ish, and then I have a March-ish, and then next so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But like it's kind of like what the kind of current events are during the time. Like I have a social distancing shirt on the line too. But really, kind of the thing that a lot of people were doing while in quarantine was like watching that Tiger King show.
Shout out to Joe Exotic. Free him.
Everybody loves
Free
Tiger
Joe
King.
Exotic.
Yeah, and I mean, like the show was pretty nuts, and like everyone kind of got on the bandwagon of whether Carol Baskin, did her husband dirty or not.
Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked him. He convinced me that it didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fed them to tigers, they snack it.
Probably one of the biggest conspiracy theories for the year, and there's 100 of them. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, I mean they're all. It's like a game of Clue within Netflix. People are like, some people think she's done it like a million different ways, but she slightly hints about a tiger eating somebody, saying it really would be kind of hard to get a tiger to eat somebody unless, I don't know, they cover them with sardine oil. So that's kind of
and the shirt is dope.
Yeah, it's a very dope shirt.
It's a dope shirt.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I would definitely rock it.
How can people find? I mean, we usually do that as like an outro thing, but tell the people immediately how they can find where they can purchase that merch.
So my clothing line is just called Soulwear Clothing. So it's just SOLWARE clothing.com. And basically it's just kind of a riff off of my last name, which is Solorzano, and then like just SOL, which is like son, which is also like, play of like I'm the firstborn son, and then like, the
like
actual
that.
son.
Yeah, that's dope.
And then people say soul, which sounds like soul. There's just like a lot of play into the word. I feel
Now,
that
what
you can
inspired
use.
you to create your own clothing lines business?
Well, I mean, I like art and I like to be able to put it up and I like for people to be able to enjoy it, or like, some people pay me to do art and stuff, which is pretty cool. But it's just like, it's so them, like, it's something that if they're wanting to purchase, it's something that they're doing that they've chosen, like whether it's their dog or like, they're a portrait of somebody, they know.
Yeah, that's dope.
Which
That's
is
dope.
pretty cool. But like, as far as like doing your own stuff, it's cool to have it at a like, an affordable price to where people can have multiple of it out there in the world, and just kind of like, I don't know, like I see people who own it now and they'll like just be wearing it. It'll be like in a picture of their own, just like, kind of mundanely there it is.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to me.
My
just to be able to
brother,
see
his
that.
girlfriend actually got him like a couple t-shirts with her face on them.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute.
Really?
I mean, yeah, she got him like a t-shirt
That's
with like
dope.
her face on it.
Well, wait a minute. While we're plugging clothes, yeah.
Shout it out.
The network merchandise can be purchased. RockPodNet on Instagram. Holla at my boy or holla at me, and I can play middleman. So get your merch, get your t-shirts, get your hoodies.
Yeah, they got t-shirts and
They look really cozy.
Back to it.
Shout out to Chris.
It's about to be hoodie weather anyway, right? Or
For
no?
sure.
It's
Oh yeah,
really-
we're skipping.
weather's been really
we are skipping
wishy-washy.
summer. We
Yeah.
are skipping summer.
I just don't know. Like, what is it? Like March 850th now. It's such a long time inside. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I was reading today in some of the news, they've once again extended our quarantine lockdown situation.
Yeah.
And
June 6th,
and there's different reports. I heard June 1st, I heard June 6th.
I heard June 6th.
No matter what, it's extending past the last time they said that it was going to be, which is
Yeah.
kind of the recurring theme that's
Right.
going on now.
Every time, yeah. It seems like now the thing to do is to not really set expectations to an extent. Like, don't get too much hope into a time for an expectation, like for something to happen, because you don't
Here's
want it to
my-
be like.
Here's my theory on it, right? And now, mind you, I could be wrong. This is just my hot take on the whole situation. I think that they know that this is the rest of the year, but you couldn't. I mean, you could just tell the people that if you're up for mass hysteria, but you almost have to spoon feed us that this is going to be of kind of one of those ongoing things. And again, I don't think anything about this is really going to change until there's a solid vaccine. Now, that's just my.
I agree.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And they say it takes like 1 to 2 years to even get a vaccine.
Yeah, and we're now approaching a second wave, and we're kind of sort of talking about things opening up. And in my worst imagination, right, is things kind of opening back up, and then boom, a spread starts all over again. And now these same businesses that have been struggling for the last couple of months are now closing their doors again to go back to the same kind of the routine, the takeout, and the trying to make bills off of that. The debt is climbing through the roof right now, the roof, and people are spending their stimulus check. I think we were talking about something like that, right?
Yeah, the crazy thing is that people have been spending their stimulus checks on.
Yeah, I made a status about that kind of like on like on Facebook or like on my social media about kind of like if you get this check, you really gotta like use it wisely, because you never know. Like, you need to be like, because I mean, if you spend it all on, even if you spent it all on, like, I've seen the people are like having barbecues and things like that or whatever, which is fine. I mean, I feel like you should have happiness during this time, but like, just be conscientious, because you don't want to like not have lights, you don't want to not have a house, depending on stuff like that.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, I got my stimulus check and I'm a girly girl. Like, I'm not about cars. I drive a nice car, but I'm not about cars. Like, I'm a daddy's girl. My dad handles everything for me when it comes to my car. And I'm I'm proud of myself. I did like an adult thing. So when I got my stimulus check, I spent $600 on tires. I bought brand new tires for my car. And my dad was so proud of me. And he was just like, that's like a good way to spend the money. All my bills were paid. And I kind of wanted to like maybe buy some Yeezys. Like I was like, I'm going to blow this shit. And then I was like, you know what? What do I really need? Like, what do I really need? And I was talking to my dad, and he's like, listen, you should go get tires, get your car tuned up, make sure that everything's okay with your car. Use the money for stuff you really need.
There's a good plug for our young people.
Yeah, and right? I got good tires.
There's a good plug for our young people in thinking very, very, very cautiously about those things because it's all about like future planning. You can get those same sneakers some other time.
I agree.
But you then kind of, you might fuck your life up a little bit if you continue riding on those tires that you could have then switched, and now your tires turn into, you need new axles now, and now your alignment's fucked up.
And that's what my dad was telling me.
Your suspension's messed up, and now your $600 balloons into $2,000, and now you got to find some shiesty mechanic to kind of take care of it for you for a better price. So what we're saying is, right, and we're not being preachy, we don't give out advice, but be cautious and kind of really look at the bigger picture of things when it comes to your spending, especially if you live alone, and especially if the only person you're really relying on as far as like financials are concerned is yourself.
Yeah, and my car takes me point A, point B.
Yeah, I mean,
I really can't depend on anyone else. So I felt so good afterwards, and I had a little money left over, so I put that away. But I was like really proud of myself because I've never bought tires.
Yeah, shoes are a form of transportation, but they're nothing compared to a
they're
car.
Nothing in comparison.
And I got like an alignment. I got like something flush. Like I got the duns. I got it done, and I was really happy. Like now my car's good. And
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the rush to, because we just live in that type of environment now. Everything is so instant. Everything is so instant gratification and short lived, and like it's all about that. Unfortunately for most people, it's all about like getting something and then posting it, and then like you live in that little hype moment.
Now that you say that, not to cut you off, but I'm an old soul, and this used to always bother me. Christmas time. I hate with a passion when people post their Christmas trees and their gifts. It just bothers me. It just baffles me because there's people out here that can't afford to have all those gifts. And it's just mind-blowing to me when people post these pictures with all these gifts under the tree. Like, it's just mind-blowing. Like, growing up, I would never do that. Like, it was never like that when we were kids,
Yeah, like it's kind of like a rub in the face.
It's a rub in the face
people,
for those that don't have it.
I could definitely see
that. And it
that,
makes people think like, hey, I need that. I need that in order to survive. I need to have those Yeezys in order to wake up tomorrow. And necessarily that's not true.
Yeah.
It's so much, a lot of those things now are considered status symbols.
Yes,
like,
for sure.
Like my version of cool can really consist of basically nothing, because like my version of cool isn't like what you put on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has very little to deal with it. The second you can open your mouth and have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm for sure personality cool. My personality is dope.
A lot of that stuff is overly hyped, because of the people behind them. None of us are ever gonna meet Kanye. Never say never, but none of us are ever gonna and we continue to then support what he's doing as opposed to supporting what we're doing and what our friends are doing.
And supporting our own friends and their small businesses.
And what they're doing.
Yeah, especially as a creator, that's something like I see all the time. Not just in myself, just because I'm older now, so I don't it's something that really gets to me anymore. But for sure, yeah, whenever I would go to even one time I auditioned for American Idol, and then I've posted songs,
Can you sing?
And things like that. I think I can sing. I've been singing long enough now where I can.
If you don't follow him on, do you not follow him on social media yet? Go hit the follow button first of all.
What are you into? My phone's dead. What are you into? Like, what kind of music?
I like all kinds of music. I respect music of all kinds. Not to hate. I would say I'm from Oklahoma because that's where I've spent most of my life. But I just don't really like country. But I like music. So even because country surrounds you in Oklahoma. So
what's your favorite
when
song?
You're in my favorite song? Ooh, that's tough.
If you could sing a little snippet for me right now. What
loaded question.
What's a little snippet? And I'm not gonna apply pressure. I'm not gonna hit you with the Whitney Houston.
No, you do a lot of good covers.
But I want a nice little cover.
Well, I guess for a depends on like kind of goofy thing, like for the atmosphere. I don't know if you've ever seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Mm-mm.
So it's like it's a TV show. I mean, it's a movie about some guys who escape prison. It's really satire about it, but there's a kind of like a chain gangy song. I really kind of like that feel of it, which is not really in the type of music way that I sing. But it's also, and I'm also a little bit kind of loud, so worry about the mic issue or me being
Just back up a
overpowering in
little
it.
bit and give me a
But
little snippet.
she would just be like the song anyway is like you imagine that you're like either chain ganging or like in a really like southerny kind of setting, but you would just be like oh, death. Oh, death. Won't you spare me over to another year? What is this that I can't see? My life is taking hold of me.
I like that.
There we
It's
go.
a little hard to sing with headphones on.
Have you ever tried to like get into like doing maybe like movies and stuff like that? Like you know how they have the cartoon movies and then they have the people that play the voices.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
actually,
good
that's
for
so
you.
weird that you say that.
That'd
just
be
because
cool.
like that's kind of something that's just recently piqued my interest.
I could see you doing
It's just
that
like
for
doing
sure.
like characters and stuff because I've always kind of done like little weird characters or voices, accents and stuff, and like language is something that kind of intrigues me. So that's just like it's just funny that you say that because I was recently really honestly just looking into that kind of thing.
I could
That's
see
pretty
you
dope.
doing that for sure. I could.
That's pretty dope.
A little side note to what you were saying about like as far as like like people like posting on their like Facebooks and stuff about like Christmas and stuff and like that kind of like unnecessary flex. Also though, I don't want to like downplay a flex though because like if you did that to get those shoes or like as far as like effort and stuff goes.
Oh,
into,
yeah,
whatever,
pat it- by all
flex
means,
it
pat
up.
yourself
Like,
on the
what I mean?
back. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
like
not
like also like I'm all for people doing that too, but I see both sides of it. Like I mean, really for like a thing that's kind of weird now, I think, with social media, as far as is like that donate and share type of thing,
Yeah.
like where some like there's like some people like where they do like they feed like a homeless person and then they like shove a camera in their face like
Yeah.
on the side of the road, like like somebody on
Yeah.
the street or something, which is just like is like kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
But like I feel like there's a difference between genuine and it not being real. You know what I mean? Like
Doing
it's-
it for the gram, man. Like
Yeah.
that's a thing now. That's like that should be a category on Jeopardy. You know,
My dad
like-
used to always tell me when I was younger, I would always like do things and like seek for his approval. And he used to tell me like, Margaret, you don't need anyone's approval. Like you don't need the validation. Like this is what you're supposed to be doing. You don't need to post pictures. You don't need to seek validation. If this is what you're supposed to be doing, then do it. You don't need people to give you a pat on your back. You don't need people to show you love because that's what you're supposed to be doing.
the attention
Yeah.
of it all. The
you
attention
don't
of it
need
all
it,
becomes a
attention.
drug.
Yeah, like
You
I mean,
know?
like even like for example, like my stimulus check, I mean fortunate enough to be able to just put it in the savings, and then I seen something where it was like had a like a doge for like Feed America type thing or whatever,
Yeah.
and then so like I had the ability, and so like I donated to it, and then like I shared the place to donate. I didn't share how much I like put into it or anything like that. I just thought that maybe if somebody else seen that, they could also donate, whatever. But
Paying it forward.
I wasn't like, hey, this is how much I threw down. Somebody else should throw down that amount, or whichever. But it's just like I feel like there are different ways to go about it. Like if you want to share and help make other people, entice them to do that kind of thing, there's different ways to go about it. I feel to make it more genuine.
It's a great way to support.
Yeah. Last night we went to Burger King and there was a couple people out there and we bought them burgers and stuff like that. We gave them masks and burgers.
It's always good
all
to
that.
pick your spots when you do stuff like that. And I think I read a book. I can't remember the name of the actual book. It's leaving my mind right now. But it basically said when you get that inkling, it's almost like your subconscious telling you need to do this. Like that's why that feeling comes over you, where you feel compelled and you're like, okay, yeah, like I need to do something for this person in this moment right here, right now. And it doesn't mean opening up Instagram and trying to get the right angle so that everybody else or whoever it is that follows you can then see it too and pat you on the back for it. I mean, it's kind of like, it's a weird kind of thing.
It's like the reverse, like if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there, did it really happen? Like now it's like reverse. Like if somebody falls and you pick them up, if the whole world isn't there to see it, does it really happen? Like it's
I
kind
agree.
of
me and you have had a few really good conversations about mental health and and kind of staying within the know about yourself, and then that allowing you to be comfortable in the person that you want to give, to the world. These last like 60 days for me have been, she'll tell you the same. I've been so up and down, and then some weeks are really, really down, and then some weeks, I'm pepped up and I want to get, start piecing some of my life back together, through all this, and then sometimes are harder than others. How have you been maintaining in that regard?
Well, it's really hard. I mean, like not like I mean, nothing is easy. I mean, just like you said, there's like it's so back and forth between like what the thing is and like for like even for you like I would it'd be easy to say like you're probably your toughest critic.
Absolutely.
And so like it goes into saying like something my mom told me once was just basically that the whole world is basically against us. I mean, and the odds are not really in our favor. So like if anybody should have your back, it should be you, like yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so like but that means you have to be tough on yourself too at the same time. And so like I mean, yeah, it's just definitely been. I had like it's the first week of quarantine, whenever it actually happened, my cousin got sick, and her doctor didn't tell her that she had the virus. Like he didn't want to risk even trying to figure it out. He just said, "Let's assume you have it and stay home." So then I was just being open and honest at my job and told them, "Hey, somebody is being told to quarantine at my house. What do you want me to do?" And they said, "You should do the same." So then I went home, and we live in like separate areas. So like I live below them and they live above me. So it's easy for us to kind of keep our distance. But in that first week, I'm like, okay, I'm not sick. I feel great. I'm going to use this week to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And then the week was over, and I was like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Like I was just like, what even happened? And then so like the second week was, happening again. And then like I was like, well, this week I'm gonna set some non-negotiables that like, that I need to do for myself, and maybe what should I start out with? And so honestly, the first thing I did was my dog, she really enjoys being in her pen for some reason. I'll leave it open, but she's always in there. But she was outside of it because I had kind of closed the door, but she was just laying on the ground. And so I just like laid on the ground with my dog for like, I don't know. It felt like maybe like an hour or so. And like I already had music playing, so I just kind of like zoned out. And I felt like this is a reflection of myself. And this is a real breath that I'm going to take right now and just kind of take it in. And then I got up and then I started cleaning. It was the first thing I did. And just so I could I don't know about you, but like if I'm going to create or if I'm going to have a moment to sit down or whatever, nothing feels better than right after you clean.
Absolutely.
Same thing like a party. Like, you ever clean your house
before bed every night? Ezra knows I'm always mopping and sweeping.
You ever like super clean your house, and then right after it's clean, you look at it and you go, "I should throw a party." Like, it's like, like,
Who wants to come
That's the
over?
feeling. Hell yeah.
We actually went to Ithaca on Friday, and we had a really good time.
It was very,
We
very
bonded.
nice. The
We
air
went to
out
the
there felt
waterfalls.
great.
We
Like,
were
it was
literally legit
peaceful.
in a waterfall.
Like, yeah.
Up
That's
close and
sick. Yeah, I
personal.
love water. Like,
It
there's
was-
just
it
something
was
about
pretty-
water.
I'm a Scorpio. I love water too. I'm a water.
I'm a
child.
Pisces too.
It was pretty serene. Like I kind of had this hopeful feeling that came over me, and just being in a setting like that,
Yeah.
where it felt like, okay, like there'll come a point where life will feel like this again, where
Yeah.
I
you
felt
can
like
walk out your
everything
house
was like
and
all the weight was lifted off my chest. I just felt free.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was a very,
And
very
Outside
good
will
literally
do that
after
to
we
you.
left, it started pouring raining. Like it was meant for us to be there at that exact time.
Yeah, it was
Like we
nice.
chilled for like an hour.
That is so weird. Like that, I don't know why, but that brings us like when I first moved out on my own. I actually had a friend of mine who called me and was like, "Do you want to move to Tulsa, which is in Oklahoma?" And I was like, "I mean, that sounds sick, man. Like, but I don't have a job, I don't have a car." And I was just like, "So, I mean, I wouldn't be of much value as of right now. And I mean, I know you're probably in a time like crunch, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit that." And he was like, "That's not what I asked. I asked if you want to move." He's like, "I'll front you everything up front or whatever." And I had never done that with somebody, like as far as like that kind of a big of a loan or a leap into
Leap of
something.
faith.
Yeah. And so like I've always had like I always feel like I've had good work ethic, but this was before I ever even worked at. I started working at Best Buy. It was before I even had that job, and all I had was a MacBook, like a laptop. And so when we had this apartment, we didn't even have internet. I had to go to a hospital. I'd sit in the hospital waiting room and or the lobby and just like fill out applications after applications. And then I had finally gotten a job at Best Buy, and I had to take a bus there because it was kind of a little further from where we lived. And I had never taken a bus before, so that was new. And my first day coming back, I got on the wrong bus. and I had to walk a long ways. And I was still kind of like really even lost. I didn't have a phone, so I didn't have GPS.
Oh, boy.
And I was just kind of like walking around. And this guy, and I was having the worst day. I mean, like the bus was horrible. My first day of work was horrible. And like, it was just one of those things where like, as soon as I get home, I feel like I'm just going to like cry or something. And then this guy was jogging and he like was like, hey, well, like pointing at me. And I was just like, what is it? And he was like, there's a double rainbow. And I was like, a double rainbow. And I turned around and I seen it. I was like, that's goofy. Like, it's like, it looks like it's not even raining at all. And then I like get home, I walk upstairs and I sit down and I just like breathe for the first time, like this whole stress. And then like literally almost like equal with my breath, this thunder comes and it's just raining like hard, and I'm like, at that moment, I'm like, I could have been walking in the rain, and I'm not in the rain. And I'm here, and I felt good about it. Like, it's just one of those moments where it's just like, life does that to you.
Perspective,
Yeah, everything is perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like when you stop and breathe, sometimes another thing as far as like creativity goes or things like that, like where I get ideas or inspiration is just like where you are. Like, you ever stop and think like where you are, how many people have been right where you are?
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when you stand, like it's just, even for like let's say for America's really young. So like I've talked to like some of my friends who live in Europe and stuff like that. There are places and stuff that they see is old, like thousands of years old. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this so old. And like, as far as what America is, the buildings and stuff we have are pretty young. But like, I remember one time, the first time I went to Washington, D.C., I was on the stairs at the Lincoln Memorial. And then like it hit me all at once. I was like, yo, Martin Luther King stood right here. Like the history happened where you were. Like, no matter where you are, it might even be big,
crazy.
But it's just those kind of things are inspiring. Like, I stood on the same steps as somebody who was amazing, in any time frame.
I really appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with us. You're a very dope soul, my friend.
Yeah, dude. I mean, anytime.
Yeah, I'm glad we had this special moment.
People need more people like you in their life. You know what I mean? So go follow him at It's Mahtin, I believe it is, on Instagram, correct?
Shout out to Soulwear.
Shout out to Soulwear.
Shout out to
Support
Loyalty
Soulwear.
Matters.
Shop local, indeed. And if you're interested in doing a podcast of your own, reach out to my producer Chris at RockPodNet, and he can set that up for you. You know what we about. This is very, very legit. Too legit to quit. I am your boy Ezra Ray. You know who that is over there.
Margaret at Mars X World.
This is the 1204 podcast.
1204 the podcast.
We appreciate you guys. We love you. We will see you next week. We out.
We out.